Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Please be advised this video is for entertainment use only. All opinions in this video are mine, and please don't harass or show hate to anyone mentioned in this video. All information in this video is used under fair use. I was going to do a video entitled Time to Cut the Cut, because I noticed so many articles that have come out in the past 2-3 weeks about the royal family, which I will look at the latest one at the end of this video. But then I thought, wait a sec, they're all of a sudden coming out with all of these articles? Why? Then I started thinking, the last we heard from Faux-mid Scobie was that Meghan and Harry were invited to the reception for the foreign heads of state. Then he had to backtrack and say, oh no, now they're uninvited. I think everybody knows they were never invited in the first place. Obviously, he got the info from Meghan that they were going to be invited. There could be two reasons for that. One could be maybe she gave him the story to pressure the royal family into inviting them, because hello, that's an important event. She would love to be there because she has political aspirations. So what better way, if you have political aspirations, than meeting all the foreign leaders from around the world that are at the Queen's funeral? So that was my first thought. Then my second thought was, well, maybe she told Faux-mid that because she knows they're not invited, and then she could make a big deal via Faux-mid about the royal family being racist because they uninvited or didn't invite them. But now I'm kind of having a third thought on that. And my thought is, poor Faux-mid Scobie is being cut out of all the Meghan info, and Meghan's given all this info to the cut. And think about it. She gives Faux-mid a fake tip that he can run to Twitter with, because that's what he does, runs to Twitter with everything she tells him. And she gives the real info, the real goss, to the cut. Kind of makes sense, because after all, Faux-mid really is based in England, even though he doesn't know Scotland's part of the UK. And the cut is all American, and they're American liberal media at its worst. So, anywho, I just had that thought. Comment down below what you think. Faux-mid might be on the way out, everybody. So let's get to the cut, shall we? Of course, on August 29th, we had that wonderful Meghan of Montecito article, which was totally ridiculous, totally threatening, and just a whole bunch of lies. I mean, that's all it was. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. Came out just before the Queen passed away. You know, I mean, it was just a trash article from beginning to end. Then on September 14th, we had the masterpiece article of King Charles's reign of fussiness has begun. Like, that was a total hit piece. There's no two ways about it. And if Meghan thinks the way to impress the new boss of the royal family is to have articles like this running in her favorite magazine, yeah, she mistaken. There was one thing in that article I thought was absolutely hilarious, and it was the sentence that said, Charles has a flair for being a big fussy baby and a jerk to all his staff. Wow. Where else did we hear that before? Oh yeah, I know. It's because Meghan was a big bully to all her staff, allegedly. We don't know what's in that final report, but I think it's safe to say with the number of staffers that quit, there was something going on there. The cut article I want to focus on is the one from September 16th by Danielle Cohen. And the name of the article is, "What are the Brits mad at Meghan Markle for this time?" After reading this article, I'm going to give Danielle some advice. Danielle, get ready for that Peabody Award. This is a masterpiece in writing. Yeah, not. Of course, being an American magazine that knows nothing about the royal family, it's littered with mistakes and generalizations and basically Meghanisms, shall I say. The very first thing that jumped out at me is in the article they said after the Queen's death, Meghan joined Harry in England, a presumably painful and difficult decision considering how she has described her time there. Now, number one, that key part in this sentence is how she described her time there. We all know there's a difference between Meghan's truth and the truth. So that's according to Meghan's truth, which we know has no resemblance to the actual truth. And secondly, she didn't join Harry in England. She was already in England, staying at her favorite place, the Soho House. She was there for the Wilchild Awards with Harry. They were going to appear there the night that Queen Elizabeth died. Here's a newspaper article about their appearance at the Wilchild Awards. See the date? Well, it's September 8th. So she didn't join Harry in England. She was already in England. And if you can't get those very basic facts right in an article, how is anyone supposed to take anything you write seriously? It goes on to say, it didn't take long for the hashtag Go Home Meghan Markle to trend on Twitter, alongside accusations that Meghan was pretending to mourn for attention after causing the Queen so much pain, even as she and Harry joined William and Kate for a walk outside the Windsor Castle. Well, yeah, duh. People don't like Meghan Markle because she did cause so much pain for the Queen, and for Prince Philip when he was dying, and for the rest of the royal family. So no, people in England, in the UK, don't like her. Remember after the Oprah interview, all those headlines that came out? Yeah, I'm sure the Queen was so happy about those, and they didn't cause her any pain whatsoever, did they? Just like it wouldn't cause you pain if people were saying that about your family. She also says in this article, for what it's worth, Meghan and Harry seem to be on fairly good terms with the Queen. The couple told Oprah in 2021 that they were still chatting with her regularly, even while Charles was ignoring Harry's calls, and Meghan said the Queen has always been wonderful to her. The Queen released an official statement at the time saying that Harry and Meghan and Archie will always be much-loved family members. Yeah, of course the Queen was talking to them. I don't know if this author has a grandmother or not, but that's the way grandmothers are. Grandmothers love their grandchildren. They can acknowledge when they do things wrong, but they're still going to love them. And of course, the Queen was wonderful to Meghan. The Queen was a very polite, charming woman. Like, what was the Queen going to do other than that? Slam the door in their face and flip them the bird when they were walking down the driveway? I mean, that's ridiculous. And the proof she uses that, the Queen held no bad feelings for Meghan and Harry after the Oprah interview was the statement that she released saying Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much-loved family members. Yeah, what was she gonna say? That is the most benign statement I've ever read in my life. And of course, the Queen loved them. Like I said, that's what grandmothers do. This was just ridiculous to put in there because anyone who knows anything would know that proves nothing. That doesn't prove that they didn't make the Queen's last years very painful. What some people don't understand is that the Queen was the head of a family, and that family was the small r royal family. She was also head of the family corporation, which is the large R royal family. And sometimes when you're head of a corporation, you have to make decisions that you might not want to do, but because it's your family, but for the good of the corporation, you have to do it. And that's how you have to look at the capital R royal family, as not only an institution, but as a corporation. So, of course, she was going to take away, ask them not to use their HRH and ask them not to use the Duke and Duchess of Sussex for commercial ventures, which of course they do. But as part of the small R royal family, she loves them. And she would always be happy to see them and talk to them. So, yeah, whatever. This is just completely ridiculous sentence. The author then goes on to show she is not quite as classy as the Queen, because she says, but why would that stop anyone from getting pissy for no reason? Like I said, girl, clear off that shelf for that Peabody Award. This is a fantastic journalistic insight into what makes the royal family go round. Then she writes, while Meghan was shaking hands with mourners gathered outside Windsor Castle last Saturday, several women refused to engage with her, looking down to avoid eye contact and ignoring Meghan's hand when she reached out for a handshake. Yeah, like I said, because people don't like Meghan. People don't like the way she's ripped apart the royal family, tore them a new one in interview after interview and article after article. And people have the freedom. Everybody doesn't have to like Meghan. Like, I don't understand why Meghan's fans think everyone has to like her. No, people don't like her. Get over it. Then here comes the comedy part of the article. One video shows a royal aide trying to take the flowers over to the rest of the Queen's tributes on Meghan's behalf. And she seems to kindly tell him she wants to do it herself. I swear I couldn't stop laughing when I read this one. Kindly? What the... Yeah, kindly. I don't think it was so kind until she caught herself, realized she was on camera, and couldn't show her true colors. Had to put on the actress. Kindly. I hardly think so. She goes on to say, apparently protocol dictates that royals aren't supposed to hold bouquets, which could contain small bombs or other weapons inside. Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe it's because there were hundreds of thousands of flowers, and no one person could possibly hold that many flowers. Not only that, that's just the way it is. How are people supposed to shake the royals' hands if their hands are full of flowers? I mean, that just makes no sense whatsoever. That's not to say the article is all filled with head shakers. There are a couple things I do agree with. Later in the article, she writes, in the most creative takeaway from the same appearance outside Windsor Castle, a handful of conspiracy theorists have become convinced that a crease on Meghan's dress was actually a microphone she wore to help her turn the Queen's funeral into content for her podcast and or Netflix deal. Do they think she doesn't have enough material? Now, if true, some people think she had a microphone on her. I don't think that's true. It would never come up in my mind to think that, but I seriously can understand how people would think that, because in her Cut article, Meghan of Montecito, she said about all the secrets she has and how even when the birds stop singing, silence is still a song or some ridiculous thing like that. So yeah, I wouldn't blame people for thinking that. And no, I don't think she has enough material. The only material she has is what Dum Harry tells her, because she was only in the royal family inner sanctum for a few years. So she must be coming up to the end of that info now. Now, I hadn't heard of this conspiracy theory before, and I'm pretty up on what goes on with the royal family. So I looked up what is a handful, and it says it's a small quantity, usually approximately equal to 5, the number of fingers on a hand. So when you think about the number of people around the world that have been online talking about the Queen's death and all the royal family appearances, and even the number of people that were at Windsor, that is hundreds of millions of people. So if there's only 5 people saying this, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I just think it's, people not trusting anything this woman does. The last thing that was mentioned in this article was where she writes, at a service marking the beginning of the Queen's line in state, Harry and Meghan held hands, which was, per Twitter, inappropriate, disrespectful, and a disgrace. While it's true that PDA is generally looked down upon in the royal family, Princess Anne's daughter Zara Tindall also held hands with her husband Mike at that exact same event, something no one seems to have had an issue with. I have to say I was one of those people, because I think it's inappropriate to be holding hands with your husband at a funeral. Maybe if you're sitting in the pews, but when you're walking down an aisle and not only are there lots of people around, it's going to be on TV, it's being live streamed everywhere. I don't agree with that. And I don't agree with Mike and Zara doing it either. And I happen to like Mike and Zara. I just don't think it's appropriate. I think most people didn't mention they had a problem with Mike and Zara holding hands, though, was because most people didn't know they were holding hands. I watched that live on one of the news stations. I didn't even see Mike and Zara walking down the aisle, because by the time that happened, because they're lesser royals, the cameras were all outside watching the important royals leave. So I didn't know that was happening, but I think it's just as bad as Harry and Meghan holding hands. So I agree with this, but I don't think people only had a problem with Meghan and Harry doing it and not Mike and Zara. I just think most people didn't see that Mike and Zara were holding hands. So that's it for me today. Please subscribe and like this video. Make a comment down below and have a great day. Bye-bye.